going on?
Not much. So, I got a question on Matthew chapter 8 and verse 12. You could break that down for me, please.
All right, so what we're gonna do first, Yamayan, go ahead and write down the chariots. Write down 2 Kings chapter 5 and Matthew, what was it?
Matthew chapter 8, verse 12.
The chariots.
Chariots, 2 Kings 5, and Matthew chapter 8, verse 12. Is that what you said?
One problem.
All right. Anybody else got any questions? All right, Most High in Christ. All right, so what I'm gonna do is give me bear with me. Everything was fine till the class started. Give put the notice on the Facebook. If y'all want to go and share that joint, the class is gonna be up on the YouTube. Go ahead.
The list of books on the ISUPK website. That's just a few books that I listed that we can also read, or every book that's listed is that's on book we should.
That's a good question. Well, all right.
I asked because I downloaded the app that gives the Apocrypha and the King James 1611 version.
Yeah.
And as I'm going into it, it's asking me, an option if I want to download it. One is called Law of the Bible, one the Forgotten Books of Eden. I know the Books of Eden, and that's for me.
The lost books of what? The lost books of the Bible and what?
The forgotten books of Eden. Because normally I went, I skimmed through the books on the website.
Salakia, sis. Salakia. The forgotten books of Eden is what you say?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So here's the thing. Those books that we have on the ISUPK website, right? We do not say that those books are law or say that those books you have to read or anything like that. What those books are books that we use here in the truth to back up what the Bible actually says. I'll give you an example from Babylon to Timbuktu, right? You have the brothers say some stuff in there that actually backs up what we saying using historical data, but at the same time, the brother's not in the truth. So some of the stuff that he's bringing out does not line up with the Bible. So we wouldn't have you use that book to say that book is, 100% accurate. What we do is we take the stuff that's there that backs up the Bible and use that information to back up what we're saying. So those books, none of them that's on that list are we saying is the Bible, except for the Apocrypha, which are the books that the Roman Catholic Church took out. You understand? So any other books, like when they got a book of Judas, they got a book of Mary, they got a book of Enoch, they got a book of Jasher, they got a book of this, and now you saying they got the book of Eden, the lost books of Eden or something like that. Let me tell you what you do with those books. You got a fireplace?
Well, it's digital.
Oh, if it's digital, you got an antivirus?
Yeah.
You got a toilet? Like if you ever run out of toilet paper, you can take those books and just use them. All right, it's like the same thing with the Quran and all of that. They all comic books. They all fake. They have nothing to do with. Now, if it's something you find in there that lines up with the Bible, that's fine. You could use it for that, but I wouldn't use anything off of that. But what we're not going to do here in the truth is tell you what you can and cannot read. So you got some Israelite groups that'll tell you can't read certain stuff, or we ain't going to tell you that because we encourage you to read that. If that's the truth to you, then you go join whatever groups follows that book. We follow the Bible and the Bible only. Everything that lines up and validates the Bible, that's what we use. That's why it's on the website. Everything that does not, we do not use it, and that's why it's not on the website. In other words, so you might be in a, you know what I'm saying, a cult. If somebody telling you you can't watch nobody else videos, you can't do this, that, or the other, it would be wise for you not to watch nobody else videos but ISUPK. But we ain't gonna tell you to do that. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to go watch videos from IUIC, GMS, and if one of them people is saying something that speaks to your spirit, then go and join their group. It would benefit yourself and us a whole bunch of time of counseling and all of this other stuff if you got a demon on you that we cannot, that the Lord don't want to raise up off of you. So, you know what I'm saying? Nah, the books that's on there is what we use to validate the Bible. Is not something that I say, well, that's the only book. You could read a fictional book all day long. The Quran is fiction. You know what I'm saying? It should have nothing to do with your walk with the Lord. You shouldn't go there to try to get some type of information that's going to help you change your life or anything like that. So if you're reading the lost books of Eden, they might have some good stories in there. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than watching Walking Dead or anything you'll see on you know, Netflix or anything like that. It ain't gonna be no different from that. But I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, that I wouldn't look at it like these books that these folks got is the truth or is anything like that. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Most High in Christ. All right. So, for those who don't know, this is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. We started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, back in 1969. I am Priest and Officer Kazak Tamar, and we out of Jacksonville, Florida, at 103rd Library. What's the number to the conference call? 305. I don't think it's on there. It might be. We had 103rd Library. We got brothers from all over Florida and sisters from all over Florida in the class. If you want to call in, the call-in number is 305-985-5453. Once again, 305-985-5453. You can call in, ask any question you want, the question you always wanted to ask your pastor. This is what we do right here. And this is the Truth 101 class every Monday at 7 o'clock. We right here on this line. All right. So let's go ahead and get into some of the questions first. And then I'm going to try, if we have time, to bring out this topic. Christopher Columbus was a terrorist and a thief. Right? Let me try to get to that if I could. So Matthew, what was the Matthew that the brother wanted? Let's get there.
Matthew 8:12.
Matthew 8 and 12. Let's go ahead and go there first. Give me 1 second. Let's get there. And if I could, what I think that was Shirazad that asked this question. What's particularly like you don't understand it at all, or is something that's throwing you off, or whatever that you need broke down?
I don't want what's throwing me off is verse 12 when it said, "But the children of the kingdom shall cast out."
All right, so you are officer in the truth. What you want to do is first, we call this Truth 101, right? What you want to do first is start up to where he's talking about. He starts talking about, so you can get it in context. So let's see. So this is about what we was talking about. This is Cornelius, right? Salakia. This is Cornelius, right? All right, go ahead and read verse 5. Start at verse 5 and read it for me.
Matthew 8 and 5. And when Yahushua was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion beseeching him, and saying, Adawan, my servant, lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. Yahushua said unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Adawan, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed.
All right, so first of all, 1 second, stop right there. First of all, Yahushua is out doing his thing, healing people, and a centurion comes up and he says that his servant is sick and he wants Yahushua to heal him. So Yahushua like, just take me to the brother, you know what I'm saying, and I'll heal the brother. He like, man, I'm not worthy that you can even step in my house. Like, really, I know I'm not in the truth, you know what I'm saying, and I ain't serving the God of Israel, but I know you the truth. This is what's going on, right? So go ahead. Where you at? Verse 9, right? All right, go ahead and read verse 9.
For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh, and to my servant, do this, and he doeth it.
So I'm a man with I'm a man with some rank, I'm some authority. You know what I'm saying? I'm a CEO of a large company, or I'm a military general, or whatever the case may be, or I'm a rich man, or I'm whatever word you want to use to put it in the context of what type of person you dealing with. This brother right here had some men under him, had some people that would do whatever he say, right? He's used to that, but yet he's humbling himself in the face of a man greater than him. Everybody understand? All right, keep going.
When Yahushua heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel.
Okay, go ahead.
And I say unto you, that many shall come from east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
All right. So what you want to remember in the breakdown, right, is I believe it's Romans chapter 11, but we ain't going to go there right now. What he's talking about is Christ's ministry started with the people who knew that they were Jews and were not keeping the law. The people who, like you had the Pharisees, you had all these different sects that knew they were Jews and was not keeping the law, right? Then you got people outside of Israel as well. Like this centurion, if I'm not mistaken, we could look it up. Look up Nishat, look up centurion. I believe this is a Roman, he's in the Roman army. If I'm not, I might not be right about that, so don't take that. But here's my point. This brother right here was not in the land where they originally started healing people, and Yahushua humbled himself. But Yahushua is like, well, you know, in the land where we come from, whatever the case may be, all these people who know that, I ain't found nobody with the faith that he have, not even in all of Israel. Speaking of the land. And I say unto you, they shall come from east and west and shall sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. Now, here's the point. Where was our kingdom supposed to be, Sharatazar?
In Israel?
In Israel. The Lord's kingdom was supposed to be in Israel. This is the promised land he gave us. This is where he set us down and moved people out of the land. This is where he raised up King David and all of the kings that we had while we were in authority in order to rule. And they were supposed to rule from there and rule the entire earth. Problem is we sinned against the Lord and we no longer had that authority. We no longer was in a place where we could, rule over the other nations. By the time Yahushua comes, he's talking about a kingdom, but that kingdom is not there physically. He's the king of a kingdom that's not there, meaning blood. Yahushua would have been the king just going through Matthew 1 and going through his bloodline. He was the rightful heir to the throne of the king of David, or the seat or the throne of David. But he was a carpenter. Just like some of us in Judah right now could possibly be in that same bloodline. We don't even know who he is. So the rightful people that's supposed to be there, now you got a choice to make. Here's the thing. You got people that's not Judah. You got people that's not Benjamin. People that's not Levi, that's coming in, changing their life and deciding to follow Christ, who had faith in the man, who had faith in the Most High, who sent the man, right? So what he's talking about is these people. You got to remember the whole breakdown that General Muhammad gave last Thursday, where he was saying that you ain't being healed because it's you. It's like you don't have the faith. Remember the woman that touched Christ's garment, the hem of Christ's garment. Remember thy faith have made thee whole and all of this other stuff. All of this comes by faith. First, you got to be an Israelite. Second of all, you got to have faith. So what he was talking about is the people that was in the land. They could have been sitting in the seat of Pharisee. Remember, the Pharisees were sitting in the seats of Moses at this time. They was telling people what was right and wrong. They was chopping off heads if you broke the commandments and doing all of this other stuff. What he is doing is separating those people who had no faith in the Lord, didn't believe in it, wasn't keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, from who were Israelites, by the way, who were in places of authority in Israel, and separating them from the people who was not in Israel, who was slaving for the white man, who was in his army and doing his will and running things in here, just like Moses could have been high ranking under Pharaoh, just like Joshua. You had all of these different people who had the opportunity to be something great under another nation, but chose the Lord. So this is what he separated. These people are in Israel. He ain't found nobody with the faith that this brother had. And he was working for another nation. He was a high-ranking officer, or whatever the case may be, under another nation. But he still knew who Yahushua was and came. So what Yahushua is breaking down in verse 12, he said that it's going to be a lot of people that's going to come from east, west, and all of that, and going to make it into the kingdom, right? But the main people who's supposed to be in there, the people who you looking at, the people who you think are the children of the kingdom. Remember, it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that it wasn't until Paul where he started to go get other brothers from other places. But some of these people was not following and keeping the customs right there in the land. He had not found nobody in the land that had as much faith as this brother. So he's saying the people that's supposed to be there, right, that's supposed to be there will be cast out unless they have the faith that this brother had. In other words, like you right now, you know the truth. You're supposed to be in the kingdom because the Lord gave you the spirit to know the truth. But let's say you fall out the truth. Well, how you gonna be able to rule over the Lord's people if you can't even govern yourself appropriately? Meaning they will be cast out in the darkness. They shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This means that those people are going to be a part and caught up with the other nations when the Lord destroys them instead of in the inheritance of the blessings. Do you understand that first of all? All right. I'm gonna give you a precept for what I'm saying. All right. Give me John chapter 1. Somebody got Centurion? Go ahead and read Centurion for me.
Centurion in the Compact Bible Dictionary, page 102. Commander of 100 soldiers in the Roman army.
In the what army?
the Roman army.
So this was an Israelite man who had gained rank in the Roman army, but yet and still, when he seen what Christ was doing, he knew that it was something special and knew that he needed him to be able to heal his servant. You got it, Sharatazar? This is part of how the hell we get back into the kingdom. This is part of how we get to come back. Some of us, you know what I'm saying, like they talk about General Haas was a police officer. You had brothers in the military. They find out the truth. Now they got a 8-year bid with Esau, contract with Esau. Now they know the truth. Are they going to continue to sing the Star Spangled Banner, or are they going to do like this brother did and notify the men of the Lord when they see it, or, you know what I'm saying, ask for help from the men of the Lord? Somebody got that scripture?
John 1.
John 1 and 12. Go ahead. I'm going to have the trooper that's with me read it. Go ahead.
John chapter 1, verse 12. But as many as received him.
Go back to verse 11.
John chapter 1, verse 11. He came unto his own, and his own received him not.
Stop right there. Officer Sharatazar, who is his own?
His own was the Israelites that you were explaining that was in Israel and the high position.
Right. These people were given authority under the Romans. The Pharisees was basically like the Levites under the Romans. This brother was he was a centurion. He came to real Jews that the Romans gave authority over the people in Israel, and they received him not.
But as many as received him.
Now, a Christian tell you that means that he came to the Jews and the Jews didn't receive him. So he went to the other people, and as many of them received him. What did it say?
But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God.
To as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. As many of who received him, explain or break that down for me, Officer Sharatazar. What that mean? As many as received him.
As many as received him, as like the other Israelites that were not in Israel.
Not just the ones that were not in Israel, Salakia. The ones that was in Israel too that received him. But it's only talking about his people, his own. Many of them that received him, whether they was in the land or whether they was living as Roman citizens or whether they was doing something they had no business or whether they was out, as many of those people that was willing to change their life, that was willing to acknowledge that the Lord sent this man to do a job and redeem Israel, gave him the power to come back into the fold and get the blessings that was promised to us and be the sons of God. So this brother was one of them that understood who Christ was and humbled himself, even though he had power and rank and authority under the Roman military, and understood that this man who was just a carpenter had more authority and more power and more rank than him. That's why he was saying that he ain't found this. But those children that it was supposed to go to, who was claiming that they was serving the Lord and claiming that they was doing the work of the Lord and doing this, that, or the other, and making people keep, those people was the children of the kingdom that was going to be cast out into darkness. Because they washed the outside of the cup, but never washed the inside. You understand?
I understand it.
All right, Most High in Christ. All right, so let's go. No sweat, Most High in Christ. Let me see something real quick. Go take me to Officer in the shop. You got the chariots on deck. All right. Hold on one second now. Anybody else got any questions? Go ahead.
All right. I have a question about, I want to break down Micah chapter 2, verse 11.
Write down Micah chapter 2, verse 11. All right, we get to it in a minute. All right. We'll get to it in a minute, though. All right. What's the first one, Nishak?
The first scripture is going to be Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1 through 4.
All right, so here's the deal. The Bible does not extensively go into the chariots, besides a couple of times where it's mentioned. All right. And the times that it was mentioned, this was brothers who seen it and had to try to describe it the best way they knew how with the information they had. Right now, what the chariots are is what the white man calls unidentified flying objects, things you see in the sky that you can't really explain. Well, we call them identified flying objects because we know what they are, right? And not all of them are chariots. Sometimes you have Esau trying to build his aircraft that he's trying to build to fight with the chariots of the Most High, to just like he do with all of the things that he does. He's a culture vulture, so he sees that the Lord's had these flying, I use the word vehicles, and he wants them to be there. Now, these things are led by angels. So the chariot breakdown is just simply saying that the same thing that you see sometimes now could be a chariot, and that brothers that came before you saw them and explained it the best way they knew how. I believe last time we went into the chariots, it was one, I think it was the last one that I was having a problem breaking down, and we asked about it on Sunday, that Sunday class. You remember that, right? All right, when we get to it again, I believe I could break it down this time. If not, then we'll go ahead and I'll get the breakdown from Officer Shua like we did last time. All right. Go ahead and read the first one.
Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. Then he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth.
All right.
For everyone.
Are you at verse 4 yet?
No, I don't want.
Go ahead. Go to verse 4. Keep going.
For everyone that seeth, that stealeth, shall be cut off as on this side according to it. And everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. Verse 4. I will bring it forth, saith the Most High of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of the house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof.
All right. So this is the prophet Zechariah. one of the men of the Lord, getting a revelation about certain things. Now, if you was in the class a couple of weeks ago, if not, just let me know. But we were speaking about how the Lord is in the storm. Sometimes the Lord will guide these hurricanes and guide these tornadoes and different things like that, to where he can use the angels to do certain things where it gonna hit where it's supposed to hit at. It's gonna destroy who it's supposed to destroy. It ain't no running, it ain't no hiding, it ain't no getting out of it. Now, if you know, it's good to be smart and have wisdom, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's the Lord that's got to grant you mercy when it's something that major coming along. Well, if you remember, when the Lord guided the children of Israel through the wilderness, he guided them using a flame of fire by night and a cloud by day, right? Well, inside that cloud, there was what we would call a chariot. It was just covered by this flame of fire and this thing. And this is Zechariah seeing this as a vision. And the best way he can describe it is, I turned and looked up my eyes and lifted. It was a flying roll. Now, was he talking about like a roll, like the big fat East roll? Like, what was he talking about? In the terms that we're talking about, it's something that was round and that it was flying. All right. If you can just imagine the best way you can explain it to somebody at the time. Now, if you see it, you'll be like, I saw a UFO. Or I saw a spaceship. The only reason you saw that is because of Esau's cartoons and Esau's movies, where he has portrayed this as that and it's aliens and all of this other stuff. But this has always been in the Bible, and the brother's seen exactly what the same thing that some people see today. All right. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. He starts describing it. It was this big and this bad, and it was in the air. And he said unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as in this side according to it, and everyone that swells shall be cut off as that side according to it. Now, what is he talking about? I just gave you a hint when I was talking about the Lord was in the storm. What is he talking about, officer?
It's locked, Yalawan. So he's saying that if you see the chariot, that this is a form of punishment.
The Lord was going to use these chariots to punish the earth. That's why when you see stuff like, tornadoes and all of this other stuff, and they come and tear up Esau or go and destroy Hamites or tsunamis and all of this stuff, we always bring out how the Lord is a man of war, and the Lord have created these things in order to be able, well, he don't just say this or that. Like when the Lord said, let there be light, when the Lord said, let us make man in our image, who was he talking to? Go ahead.
He was talking to the angels.
He was talking to the angels. Now, what the angels' method of travel when it comes to the Lord, to doing something like creating a storm or something like that, is the chariots. This is what Zechariah is seeing in his vision, that he's going to use these chariots to destroy those who steal and those who bear false witness on the Lord and those who do all of this other stuff. He's going to use this. And remember, the cloud of the pillar of fire, all the children of Israel saw was a cloud and a pillar of fire. They ain't never even seen the flying roll that Zechariah is talking about. You understand? So this is what the first one is talking about. Those people who come against the Lord, and you see these chariots that are the angels doing the work of the Lord and the will of the Lord through all of these different things that you might see, a tornado or this, that, or the other. Just know it's the work of the Lord. And we refer to it as a chariot, but it don't always have to look like what we see in our mind when we say a UFO. We just telling you that these are all vehicles that the angels and the Lord is using, and the prophets are describing them the best way that they know how. All right, so you got number one, or are you confused?
Yeah, I get it otherwise.
Somebody else had a question.
Oh, yes. When you said, oh gosh, what did you say? Something about, when we think of chariots, it's not necessarily, the first imagination we think of. It run back, years ago. I actually had a dream about it. I didn't know what it meant, but someone told me, at the time, back in biblical times, he was saying something about, by that comment he made, he said there were spirits that would live he said there were spirits that would live in spheres.
In what? In what? In what?
There were spirits that would live in spheres. Like, you call it a sphere. Like he was just saying, like, in a sphere, like it was, like a circle or something.
Okay, Salakia, without getting like superstitious or anything, right? Let me just, I don't know what the brother was talking about or who was saying it, but everything involving the earth is broke down into spheres. You have the atmosphere, you have hemispheres, you have all of these different things, and these are just sections of a circle, or the best way that we know how to explain it. So I'm not sure what the brother was talking about, but yeah, kind of, this is what Zechariah is saying, the same thing, that these angels of the Lord are operating to do his judgment on the earth, and they're using these flying rolls, as he said it. If you want to call it a sphere is circle, a roll is circle. It's not that far off. You understand what I'm saying? So what we attempting to do is put back the word of the Lord in the context that we can understand today. So the best way we can do it is understand how we talk now and how a brother might have been talking 4,000 years ago. So yeah, the brother might have been trying to explain it the best way he can, and that's all we doing at this point for some things, especially when it comes to the chariots. We just got to identify that there is something that the Lord uses that flies around and does his judgment, and what they look like. Either we seen them, or we can go off what Esau's interpretation of what they look like. And a lot of what Esau got came from the way they describe it in the Bible. All right. So what's the second one up?
Oh God. The next verse.
Ezekiel 1 and 16. I'm gonna have Yamayan read it. Ezekiel 1 and 16.
Oh God.
Salakia. Start at verse 15, Yamayan. You don't want to use that good book over there, huh? Brother want to use the digital sword. You got the Bible right there in front of you. Huh?
Oh, okay. Ezekiel 1 and 15.
Yeah, if you already got it on your digital joint, you can go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 15. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures, with his four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of beryl. And they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went upon their four sides, and they returned not when they went.
All right, start right there. So if you go up a little bit, you'll hear Ezekiel explaining what the angels look like. You know what I'm saying? when you talk about the color scriptures, you go to Ezekiel 1 and 5, and it starts explaining that the angels, were brown and had different things going on with them and how they look. Well, when you drop down, it talks about these wheels that was following the angels, and the angel made it move this way and move that way and this way and that way. So right here, this is Ezekiel describing the best way he can what we would consider to be a chariot or a UFO today. And he says, and I beheld the living creatures, which were the angels, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creature with his four faces. If you go back up, it was talking about that the angels had four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of the beryl, which we found out was green, and they four had one likeness, meaning all of these were the same way. They looked the same way. All of these four different ones, they looked the same way. All right. And their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Now, you could take this and build whatever you want to with your imagination as far as what the brother is seeing. But if you've seen any type of sketches or movies or anything that describe, so-called UFOs or what we would call chariots, that would be the best interpretation we can get out of what the brother is named, right? A wheel inside a wheel. And now he's describing how they interacted with these angels. When they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. In other words, when they moved, they didn't go like you driving a car and then you turn. It went straight the way it was supposed to go. So if it was supposed to go here, it went straight here. It didn't go like that way and then turn back over here. I don't know if y'all understand what I'm saying. The people on YouTube probably can see it, but you get what I'm saying, officer, right? All right, so the chariots breakdown is just our way, the whole thing. Like even if we went through the other ones, our way of trying to dissect what the prophets were seeing in these visions and what they were seeing with their eyes that they described at the time. And the chariots were nothing but vehicles that the Lord used to do his judgment on the earth or to get things done. So when we say Christ is coming back and the angels going to have chariots and they're going to destroy the earth and all of this other stuff, this is not anything that's new. It's not like Christ doing something different. The angels have always used, and the Lord has always used the angels, and these have always been their mode, whether it's in the clouds, whether it's something that you can see, or whatever the case may be. All right, so we just don't want to get spooky the way you're talking about like the Anunnaki, and you talking about ancient aliens and all of this other stuff that they describe, on these particular things. When we talking about the chariots, all we talking about is the vehicle that the Lord uses and uses the angels. That the angels use in order to do his will on the earth without when he's not using the men of the Lord. Because you got to remember, he uses the men of the Lord more than anything else. But when the angels have to intervene, it's not necessarily like it's something that's far-fetched. It's just that these is the way that the prophets describe these vehicles. You understand? All right, so for the sake of time, you can always call me and get the breakdown on the other two. That's the basics of what we're talking about as far as the chariots. It's not a whole bunch of scriptures that mention them, but the ones that do, those are the ones in the breakdown. And all you have to remember is some of these brothers were seeing vision, some of these brothers were seeing these things for real, and that's the best way to describe it. We would describe them as identified flying objects. Esau would describe them as unidentified flying objects. And they just there to do the will of the Lord. All right. You tawab on that? You got a question?
No, I'm tawab.
All right, Most High in Christ. All right, so 2 Kings chapter 5, you see a brother named Naaman, right? Is that who you was talking about, sis? All right. And do you know whereabout he was healed? Not really.
Yeah, like I said, it's I'm looking at it right now. It's just that it goes into a story
about verse 27, right? The leprosy, therefore, of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and unto thy seed forever. That's what it say, right? So he never got rid of his leprosy. He wasn't healed.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm gonna ask this question anyway, because when I'm reading at verse 1 of this same thing, it says he was captain of the host of the king of Syria, and it calls him a great man and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. So I gotta find this. I believe it's saying is this was according to the men that followed him, according to the people that he conquered. He was a great man. I don't think it's meaning that he's a man of the Lord, because we already know that a man of the Lord would have to be Israel, right? The only person that the Lord used some people to deliver his people, but he also specified that they were not Israel and why. You know what I'm saying? So I will do some more research on this. I have not completely read it, but I do see right here at verse 27 of this scriptures you gave me. You know what I'm saying? If you read verse 26, go ahead and read verse 26, Yamayan. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 26 to 27.
2 Kings chapter 5, verse 26. And he said unto him, went not mine heart with thee when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money and to receive garments and olive yards and vineyards and sheep and oxen and men servants and maid servants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper as white as snow.
So just reading this, I didn't read the whole thing. I'm not exactly sure the context, and I don't teach anything that I have not been taught. All right, but just looking at that, it don't seem like Naaman nor his seed was blessed with anything. I think Elisha was the one that was able to heal. So I got to do a little bit more research on it, sis. If I don't get you the answer no time soon or whatever the case may be, I'll try to have it by Sunday class. All right.
Paul, I have another question added on to it.
All right, go ahead.
My understanding, leprosy is supposed to be no pigmentation. But, you know, when it speaks of, you know, like what happened with Moses' sister, and when they speak of, you know, in the scriptures, leprosy, you know, I was told that it just means no pigmentation. So, you know, white people are, you know, an example of that. I don't know. And I thought, okay, even if, you know, that means you had a dark skin, or I don't know. But what I'm saying is that he could be a darker shade of, even if he wasn't heathen, it just meant he had a dark shade, but he had leprosy, because in the story it says he was hiding it.
Oh, you're saying he was hiding his leprosy?
Yeah, he was hiding his leprosy. No one knew.
Okay. First thing you have to understand is that everybody on the earth, on the planet, except Esau, has pigment. Everybody. They might have a little bit. Some have more than others. Some is blackety black. Some is blue black. Some is brown. Some is light brown. Whatever. Everybody got it except Esau. So once you cancel him out of the equation, you're right. Leprosy is just a lack of melanin. You don't have pigment in your skin or whatever the case may be. Now think about this. Some people who get it, it might start in their foot. It might start in their hand, where their hand's getting light, but the rest of their body still look normal. People put on makeup. People do all kind of stuff to hide the fact that their skin is changing colors. So I'm not exactly sure what happened with this brother, like I said, but there are ways of trying and attempting to hide the fact that you are leprous. Did I answer your question or no?
So I can wait till next class or get the answer?
Well, what I'm trying to do is make sure I understand the context of what's going on here, who this person was, all of this. Looking at Bible dictionary and see if Naaman is in there. And but like I said, just looking from the beginning, all I did was read the first verse in there, meaning this was a high-ranking brother, or I don't even know if he was a brother. He might have been a heathen, a high-ranking guy in the Syrian army of the army of Syria. And some kind of way he had some dealings with Elisha. And at the end of it, it's talking about the leprosy that he had was going to go on to somebody's seed, and it was not going away. So I don't know if he got healed or not. And that's a question that I would have to ask somebody who a little bit more knowledgeable about it, because I ain't just going to give you no answer if it's not the right answer. You understand? So yeah, what I would do is I'm going to ask, first I'm going to read it for myself and see if I can get the context of what you're asking. Then if I need any help answering the question, I would. But I didn't get a chance to do it. Remember, I told you I erased it. So I got you though, sis. All right, no sweat. Most high crazy. Go ahead.
It is in here.
All right, I'm going to just go ahead and read what the Bible dictionary says about the brother. Or let me see if he a brother. What the Bible dictionary? It could be wrong too, because it said Ruth was a Moabite. Go ahead. What does it say in the Bible dictionary? It's not the compact Bible dictionary. Make sure you make it separate, because they might be looking at the compact and seeing it.
Naaman in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Definition number 1: a son of Bela.
Nice and strong.
Definition number 1: a son of Bela and grandson of Benjamin. Genesis 46:21, and the head of the clan called the Naamites. That's in Numbers 26, verse 40. Definition number 2: the commander of the army of the king of Aram.
This is the one we talk about, right?
2 Kings 5:1.
Yep.
He was a courageous and successful general, but he had leprosy. This was the most dreadful disease at the time and meant ostracism and an untimely death. A young girl who had been taken captive from Israel served Naaman's wife. One day she told her mistress about the prophet in Samaria who could cure him. 2 Kings 5:3.
That's Elisha, right?
Khan. Naaman went to the prophet Elisha and was told to wash 7 times in the river Jordan. His servants urged him to follow the prophet's instructions, and as a result, he was healed. It says
that's it.
It's still saying 5 and 5 doesn't give what I'm guessing. It's still 2 Kings 5 and 5 through 19.
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh shall refer to this incident when he spoke in the synagogue at at Nazareth. Luke chapter 4, verse 27.
That's it.
Khan.
All right, so this brother was healed then. He was told to wash 7 times by Elisha, right? And just based on that, now I can call him a brother until somebody tell me different. All right, so I'm not sure what was going on here. This is the question that I need to ask before I can do anything. But he definitely was healed by Elisha. So I'm going to assume until somebody tells me different that he was a brother that was dealing with the other nations because he was a high-ranking officer. No different than the brother that we read about. But I got to find that out, though. I can't say that with confidence until I ask a brother that's more familiar with it than me. But he definitely was healed, sis. You're right about that. Let me see if he's a heathen or not and get back to you, all right? All right. Itazal had a question that was in Micah 2 and 11. So let's go there. Then I'm going to try to get into my topic. We might already be a little late getting into the topic. Micah chapter 2 and 11. You got it?
Come.
Nice and strong.
Micah chapter 2, verse 11. If a man walking in the spirit and falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of this people.
Salakia, go up a couple.
Come.
And then read it again.
Come. Micah chapter 2, verse 9. I'm going to start at verse 8. Even of late, my people is risen up as an enemy. Ye pull off the robe with the garment. The women of my people have ye cast out from their pleasant houses. From their children have ye taken away my glory forever. Arise and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. If a man walking in the spirit and falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of this people. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, as the flock of the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. The breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone out by it. And their king shall pass before them, and the Most High on the head of them.
All right. So in verse 8, it says, even of late my people is risen up as an enemy. Ye pull off the robe with the garment from them that pass by securely as men averse from war. Do this. Officer Itazab, look up the word averse, right? This is the book of Micah. Micah is speaking. The word of the Lord came unto Micah, and this is what he's saying, part of what he's saying to the people. If you start out in verse 2, it says, woe unto them that devise iniquity. So this is talking about brothers who's supposed to be teaching the word of the Most High, but kind of coming up with their own deal, right?
Sure.
Go ahead.
What was that word again?
You there with me?
I don't see that though.
It's in verse 8. A verse, Averse.
That was with a B.
Averse. So when we jumping into it in verse 8, he's saying, even as of late, meaning right now, is risen up. And even right now, my people is risen up as an enemy. Right? So these are supposed to be the Lord's people, but they enemies of the Lord. Why are they enemies of the Lord? Because they don't care and do anything that the Lord is saying, because they're not saying the words of the Lord. They're not doing what the Lord said to do. They're doing what they want to do and what they think is good or what they like doing. So right now, even as of late, my people has risen up as an enemy. You pull off the robe with the garment from them that pass by securely. Right? Meaning it's supposed to be people like right now, you got brothers and sisters in the truth, but then you got brothers and sisters teaching a whole nother doctrine, a whole nother thing against what the men of the Lord are saying directly out of it. Kind of like you can marry a white woman. You can marry a Moabite. Ruth was a Moabite. You can marry a Moabite. You can eat pork. Man, the law is done away with. The same people that'll tell you you can only have one woman and have five themselves. This is the same thing that Christ was talking about. The same thing was going on back in Micah's time. Go ahead.
A verse. Having an active feeling or repugnance, dislike or distaste, usually with who she was not averse to taking chances. Like that's an example. So the definition is having an active feeling of repugnance, dislike, or distaste.
So these are men that are afraid to fight. These are men that are scared to do what it takes. This is what it's talking about when it says you done pulled off and basically you made naked the people by not being able to fight. And it's the same thing right now. If you're afraid to fight your woman's demons or your own demons or the demons of the Lord's people, you are not equipped to be able to lead the Lord's people. So this is the people that it's talking about. Verse 9. Now it's going to talk about the women. The women of my people have you cast out from their pleasant houses, from their children have you taken away my glory forever. And the Bible speaks about a time where our women were so delicate that we didn't even want their feet to touch the ground. It also talks about a time where they would have no love for their husband and no love for their children. Well, when it's talking about woe unto the pastors that scatter my flock, this is the same thing that was going on, and all the prophets spoke about it, even Christ. You're supposed to be teaching the people. One of the main things that we go in this class, it says, you're supposed to be teachers, but you have need that one teach you again. But these are the people that's right now, we put a lot of the blame on the Christian church because these are the black leaders. These are the people that blacks and Hispanics go in looking for help, looking for answers, and they don't give them the answers because they're afraid of war. They're afraid of the demons that's on these people. So they say, oh, the Lord just still dealing with you, so you can still be a homosexual. Just come to church. Put your money in that thing right there, though, while you here. The Lord's still dealing with you, so you can still be sleeping with 2 or 3 men at the same time. Just come to church. Oh, and by the way, put your money in that thing right there. They're not doing nothing to help the people, but they the leaders. So the Lord is saying, these are the people you got to deal with. This is what you got. Since you don't want to serve me, you got to serve leaders that will do this right here. This is what he's talking about. And in that, they done took away the glory that the Lord had. The Israelite women are glorious. The Israelite men are glorious. Our children are glorious when walking and doing the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. But when we not, we ain't nothing. We terrible. We disgusting. We as filthy rags, the Lord say. So this is what happened. By them not doing and keeping the words of the Lord, we done turned these people and took away the glory of the Lord. Verse 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. We not supposed to be like what we is. When you see niggas is drug dealers, whores, all of this different stuff, women aborting their babies and all of this, we not supposed to be like that. That's not the rest that the Lord have us in. When we get happy to be, oh, I've been on my job for 15 years. I make good money. I'm going to be able to retire. You don't have rulership. You don't have land that the Lord wanted you to have. You serving up under another nation. This is not your rest. So Micah is preaching to the people to arise and come up out of that. All right? This is not your rest because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction. So those things that you've been told by the Christian church and by the Muslim mosque and by the people running for governor and running for mayor and your congressman and your president and all of this stuff that's supposed to do you good, all of this is the same stuff that's destroying you. All of this is the same stuff that has gotten you in the situation that you're in right now to where you are on the bottom and not on the top. So Micah is speaking to the people and telling them that that's the case. All right. Verse 11, this is what you would, if a man walking in the spirit of falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of his people. This means you will accept anybody. You will accept the words of anybody but the men of the Lord who's speaking the truth. They don't want to hear sound doctrine. Who wants to hear that you got to change your life and stop eating what you like eating and stop smoking what you like smoking and stop sleeping with who you like sleeping with? And you got to eat what the Lord say you can eat. And you got to sleep with who the Lord say you can sleep with. And you got to do what the Lord. Who want to hear that? Have I become your enemy because I told you the truth? Go ahead.
All right, now my question is on the part where it says, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink. What does that mean?
This means that you got people who are, this is a metaphor for them being like intoxicated. They of wine and of strong drink, meaning like if you got a brother that's ill-equipped in front of you, let me explain it like this. It's more so spiritual, but in order for you to get it, I'm gonna have to explain it to you from a carnal perspective. Let's say you have a brother that's trying to lead the people, right? But this brother is drunk all the damn time. right? The precept for this will be come out of her, my people. Look up for that. All right. Let me see how I can explain it. It's basically saying if you have anybody that's saying, I'm going to prophesy to you, and he want to step up, just like any old nigga can become a preacher, all you got to do is open up a church or start a YouTube and put on some fringes on his t-shirt and start teaching people at his house or even in the streets, whatever. But he don't have the truth. This is not talking about wine. It's using that as a metaphor, just like it's using the women being dirty and all of that. It's not talking about them physically being dirty or whatever. The land being polluted. What is it polluted with, Itazab?
Lies.
It's polluted with lies. It's polluted with all type of iniquity, right? Read verse 2 to me, Itazab. I mean, verse 1 of this same chapter. Just hold your spot, but read verse 1.
Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, but because it is in the power of their hands.
These are people who have gained power by some ill means and not by the Lord giving them power and authority over his people. You understand? So when you drop down and it's talking about these brothers who prophesying and whining, and it's not saying that they doing anything with the wine, but it's basically talking about them not being capable of leading the Lord's people and getting the right to do it. If a man walking in the spirit of falsehood, if you walking in the spirit of falsehood, what are you drunk of? I asked it that way on purpose. That's for you, officer. If you walking in the spirit of the, what are you drunk of? It's wickedness. I would have said Christianity. We could say you drunk from all of the things that have filled the that have killed the Israelites for years and years and years. The brother gonna read a precept. Tell him where you at.
Revelations chapter 18, verse 4.
Nice and loud.
Revelations chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Keep going.
For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you.
Salaki, that's not the right one. The one I'm looking for where it says, for all the nations have drunk of her iniquities, something like that. It's almost sound the same as that one, but it's another one. But what it's talking about is when it's saying, okay, in verse 11, it says, if a man walking in the spirit of falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink. It's not talking about him saying that wine is bad or him saying that wine is good. It's not talking about him even really being on wine or whatever. It's giving you an example of the type of people that you're going to deal with. And those people are drunk. The Bible say be sober, but it's not necessarily talking about, it is, but it ain't. It's really more so spiritual, if you understand what I'm saying. You got the scripture?
That is two. I'll make sure.
Hold on. Yeah. 18. Revelation chapter 18. We going to that. Go ahead, Itazal.
Being sober meaning having a clear mind.
Having a clear mind. So if you're drunk, I'm going to give you this, the one that I meant to get the first time. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18 and we'll get there. Start at verse 1.
Revelations chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having a great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils.
Hold on right there. Babylon the Great is fallen and become the habitation of devils. Now, if the devil was a red man with a pitchfork, let me sidebar for a minute. And it was only one of them, and he was going to torture you when you get down to heaven. How has Babylon become the habitation of devils? This for you, Itazar.
How has Babylon become the habitation of the devils?
Yeah, that is talking about here in Revelation.
Right, because,
please say it. I know what you're thinking. Say it. The white man is the damn devil. This talking about deceivers. This ain't talking about people with little red men with pitchforks. This is talking about deceivers. It's become the habitation of liars, right? Liars. Now, I'm still over here at Micah chapter 2 and verse 11. And it says, if a man walking in the spirit of falsehood do lie. It's talking about liars too, right? And it's talking about Babylon is falling and becoming the habitation of liars. Go ahead and read. Keep reading.
Con. And the hold of every foul spirit.
And it's become the hold of every foul spirit. Everything that's against the Lord. This was already prophesied way back in Micah. The Lord is telling us how to deal with it in Revelations. Come out of her, separate yourself from her. Do something different. Stop doing this. Change your ways. Keep going.
Con. And a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Every unclean and hateful bird. Now, when it's speaking about birds, is it talking about pigeons, ostriches, flamingos? What is it talking about? Go ahead.
Talking about people.
It's talking about people. It's all spiritual. It's not necessarily speaking like literal. And this is the problem. People who are carnal do not understand spiritual things at all. And we have to fight that coming into the truth. You know what I'm saying? Every time we see the word virgin, it don't mean what we thought it meant. Every time it's speaking of a tree, it ain't talking about what we think it's talking about. When it's talking about a bird or even wine, it is for you to get it. But the Bible is a black man's book. It's just like rap. I'm doing this like that. I'm doing this like that. It's a metaphor. It's a simile. Go ahead, sis.
Would it be like taking on the spirit of the white man because we're seeing how he sees it?
What you mean?
Or
is what taking on the spirit of a white man?
Meaning that when they say you are the fathers of your devil, and we want to follow what Satan wants to follow, which is the so-called white man, because he's a deceiver.
That's not necessarily what I'm doing right. What I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about right now is you've been taught something your whole life that everything is literal and it means this, that, or the other. But when you're reading a spiritual book for spiritual people, sometimes it will be talking about something else. And if you are not in tune with that spirit, sometimes you will just take it as it means something literal. We have to do that all the time. You know what I'm saying? And break down certain things. That's the reason why, like what I was talking about just now with your question. I could look at it and see everything literally in that chapter and tell you what I think it means. But sometimes you have to be careful because some things are not literally what you see right there. It's talking about something totally different. So that's what we're talking about here. Keep reading. We got to get we got to go ahead and get to the topic.
Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Read that again.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
You get it, Itazab, or no? I got to break that down.
Please.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of her fornication. Is that what it says? Or the wrath?
The wrath of her fornication.
Have all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Is it talking about literally nations have been in bed with Babylon, like sleeping with an actual person? Is it talking about literal wine? It's not talking about literal wine. It's talking about you being filled and not being clear-headed because you intoxicated from the lust and all of the things that you have to deal with following after the other nations, the desires. And when it's talking about fornication, it's talking about instead of you following your king, your head, you following after other things. And it's like the Lord calling us his wife, Israel, his wife, but we men, right? It's spiritual. So when it's talking about prophesying of wine and drink or whatever the case may be, it's saying that we are drinking of the fornication, the wrath of fornication of all the other, of the iniquities that have nothing to do with the Lord. You quiet out. You don't get it? You do get it?
I was writing down.
Yeah, so you want to break that down. Good. That's a good precept is Revelations 18:3, where it's speaking about it. This is just talking about people who are teaching things aside from what the Lord said, and we're drinking of it. And it can be any nigga saying any type of thing that ain't got nothing to do with the Lord. These are the people that have become our priest, according to Micah at this point in time. That's what it's talking about. All right. All right. Get me the joint I sent you, the link. We're gonna get on this. I ain't got much time. It's supposed to be so-called Christopher Columbus Day, right? Am I right or wrong about that? Today is Christopher Columbus Day, right? All right. Who is Christopher Columbus according to America? Somebody said Salaki?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's also ironically Indigenous Peoples Day as well.
It's what?
It's also Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous People Day?
Indigenous, like, you know.
Yeah, I ain't got time to deal with that. But anyway, I you know what? I got a scripture gonna deal with both of them.